When we find out about our irretrievable losses, everyone will be shocked. The person in the video given the interview is not some Ukrainian figure who could be suspected of exaggerating losses. No, this person is a true patriot of Russia, a people's governor of Donetsk region since 2014, actively advocating for the separation of the Donetsk region from Ukraine, and so on. He is also an active supporter of the war in Ukraine, having participated in it as an artilleryman in the ranks of the Russian army. So it is not in his interest to embellish the situation. Even by all standards of conducting war, the attacking army suffers losses 3 times greater. And in current war, I think, this coefficient is much worse. I believe that when we find out about our irretrievable losses, many will be shocked. We cannot discuss or reflect on this topic today, but it will shock everyone. Furthermore, this person also reported that there was no gesture of goodwill near Kyiv. It was simply where the Russian army was defeated and suffered a defeat, and Putin wrapped this disgrace in alleged agreement in Istanbul. It is interesting whether the Russian authorities will punish Pavel Gubarev for excessive revelation. I would like to remind you that in Russia, even the slightest mention of problems in the army can lead to arrest for discrediting the army. Even peaceful protests with signs saying "no war" or something similar lead to people being arrested. Hey, my name is Alex, and this is a quick update on the Russian-Ukrainian war from the perspective of someone living within it. The vastness of the losses is evidenced by numerous photos and videos from the battlefield, showing endless burned tanks and other armored vehicles, as well as killed and wounded soldiers. The tactic of the Red Army, where they prioritize saving equipment over human lives, still prevails in the Russian army. I would like to remind you that Zhukov, the commander of the Red Army during Second World War, confessed to his American colleague, General Eisenhower, in 1945 that during swift advance he often sent infantry to minefields to avoid waiting for sappers and ensure the success of the offensive. He even cited statistics confirming that losses were lower in such cases. I believe the Russian leadership, both then and now, couldn't care less about people. It is only thanks to the fact that everyone now has a video camera in their pocket, and all these images with burned tanks and eliminated soldiers have a negative impact on the perception of the Russian authorities, that they still try to pretend to care about the soldiers. The extensive losses are also evident by statistics compiled by independent observers, relying solely on destroyed equipment captured in photos or video. For instance, the infographic visualizing confirmed losses for March 2024. Once again, there is video and photo evidence for each unit of lost equipment. Losses in BMPs. Russian Federation 535 units, Ukrainian forces 77. Tanks. Russian Federation 205 units, Ukraine 68. Artillery. Russian Federation 129 units, Ukraine force 70. Aviation. Russian Federation 5 units, Ukraine forces 6. Overall losses. Total Russian Federation 1534 units, Ukraine forces 482 units. Loss ratio of 1 to 3.2 in favor to Ukraine. And as I always emphasize, it should not be forgotten that Ukraine also suffers losses, albeit smaller ones, but it does suffer. So, as a great geostrategist, you attack Ukraine, sending healthy and active male population for media assaults, and then you come out with this statement. We have no big choice. We need to import labor force from abroad or increase labor productivity. And what happened? Where are they all? Comments are unnecessary. And these are the people who went to seize Ukraine, but they are incapable of maintaining order even at home. Harsh realities of life in this superpower, leaking roofs, spiking wires and non-walking elevators. This is a house where people continue to live. It is located in Omsk, Russia. Local residents have turned to various authorities, but no one reacts. The authorities don't care that there are sparking wires, elevators don't work and the roof leaks in their building. Meanwhile, Russia again launched 32 unmanned aerial vehicle attacks at night, using Shad-type drones from the areas of Primorsko-Shakhtinsk and Kursk, Russian Federation, as well as 6 missiles of various types. During the night's massive Russian attack, 3 cruise missiles and 28 attack UAVs were destroyed in the sky over Ukraine. Once again, Kharkiv and Kupiansk found themselves under Russian attacks. 1 person was killed, 3 others were injured. At least 5 high-rise buildings, 10 private residential houses, a kindergarten, and cars were damaged. And now let's analyze the situation on the front. On the Liman direction, the Ukrainian armed forces repelled all attacks. No changes. Ukrainian forces repelled an attack east of Terne and routed Russian troops. More footage of the fallen Russian assault near Terne, during which Russia lost 11 units of equipment and Azov fighters evacuated enemy tank. Reconnaissance spotted a Russian armored group moving towards defense forces positions on this direction. Fighters of the 12th Azov Brigade and the 95th Separate Airmobile Brigade destroyed the enemy column. The crew and personnel of enemy vehicle fled, abandoning the equipment. Later, Azov fighters pulled the damaged Russian tank from the battlefield. By the way, this is the same tank, the monster tank, to which the Russian attached all the available anti-drone means, as I mentioned in one of the previous reports. On the Syria's direction, the enemy continues attempt to improve tactical positions towards Bilogorivka without significant changes. Battles are ongoing in the Bogdanivka area, in the Listviny forest, and Ivanivsky on the Chasiv Yar direction. Footage of repelling assault and operations near Chasiv Yar are being published by the fighters of the Achilles Special Purpose Intelligence Unit of the 92nd Assault Brigade. In attempt to storm, Russians deployed a large amount of military equipment and used one of their routine tactics. They tried to reach out as far as possible, drop off troops and retreat. However, defense forces soldiers intervened in this scenario. It is noted that the unit set its own record for the number of destroyed equipment in a day, 10 units. The situation in the Chasiv Yar area remains challenging. There are images from the Russian drone documenting the gradual transformation of Chasiv Yar city into a pile of rubble and bricks through constant bombardment. In Berdychiv, on the Avdiivka direction, Russian troops have occupied part of the central street and continue to apply pressure towards the intersection of Central and Kazberova Street. The map indicates advancement up to 1 kilometer wide and 350 meters deep. The enemy has entrenched along the forest strip southwest of Umansk up to 800 meters wide and 780 meters deep. Ukrainian armed forces delivered fire strikes on enemy armored vehicles, damaged or destroyed 4 armored vehicles. Fighters of the 25th Brigade once again published footage of effective destruction of Russians in the Umansk and Toninki areas. In repelling the Russians' assault, defense forces destroyed 16 units of equipment, 10 tanks, 5 BMPs and 1 MTLB. Attempts by Russians to advance along the entire course of the Durna River are thwarted by the defense forces. Natural obstacles and open terrain have become significant barriers for the Russians, especially for the 19th Tank Division, which was assembled and relocated during the battles for Avdiivka, which is being worn down by continuous attacks. On the Velikonovoselivsky direction, Ukrainian armed forces expelled Russian troops from several positions west of Staromayorsk. Advancement up to 1.5 km wide and 830 meters deep. Kurakhivsky front section. North of Novomikhailivka, in the machine building Dachas area, enemy infantry continues to exert pressure in the western direction. Ukrainian armed forces struck the position of Russian troops at the point indicated on the map. Continued enemy advancement up to 1.1 kilometers deep. In Novomikhailivka itself, the enemy continues to exert pressure along Central Street. Enemy advancement up to 400 meters deep. No changes are recorded on other sections of the front. However, this does not mean that nothing is happening there. For instance, 103rd Separate Guard Mobile Brigade neutralized the enemy on the Kupiansk direction. And to conclude the analysis, I suggest looking at the village of Krinky, located on the left bank of the Dnipro River, where the Ukrainian Marines heroically hold a small foothold. From the Russian drone footage, it is evident that the village resembles a lunar landscape with practically nothing left intact, while Ukrainian soldiers hold their ground. Next, I would suggest analyzing in general what is happening on the front line and what attention is being given by both sides. The Russians are attempting to mimic the Soviet Union, creating mechanized fists and trying to break through the Ukrainian defense with them. And it is not going well, to put it frankly. Significant attention also is being given to artillery. Drones of various types and capabilities are also heavily utilized. For instance, the Ukrainian multi-role drone bomber Backfire K1 from the Angry Bird unit drops a pair of bombs on the Russian Panzer S1, igniting the air defense missile system. This has happened near the Ukrainian Fuscot on the left bank of the occupied part of the Kherson region, in the Mala-Mayachka area. Backfire K1 is a type of strike unmanned aerial vehicle. It flies autonomously along a predetermined route without continuous communication with the operator, making it invisible to a radio reconnaissance means. It is resistant to electronic warfare because it lacks a control channel that can be jumped, and it has a protected GPS antenna of its own production. It precisely hits targets thanks to ballistic calculator, which calculates the release point of ammunition based on the position and speed of the aircraft. However, classical methods of dropping ammunition from drones are being used more frequently, although the types of drops also vary. For instance, the 33rd Mechanized Brigade destroyed a Russian T-72 with mines dropped from a strike octocopter. Interestingly, an 80mm mine was dropped first, followed by an anti-tank TM-62 mine. With the development of the sword, there is also the development of the shield. Positions, equipment and soldiers are being camouflaged, as if you not noticed, you are not hit. The main thing is not to do it like those Russian soldiers, where you camouflage, on the contrary, exposes everything. Various anti-drone nets are widely used on positions, along with different depressions and elevation in bunker and trenches, to ensure the dropped drone munition travels in the planned direction and causes minimal damage. But it is still better to remain unnoticed. Otherwise, if someone wants to destroy something on the front, they will most likely succeed. For example, a Caponeer with an anti-drone net didn't help this Russian MTLB. Ukraine drones operators simply had to use 2 drones. Electronic warfare installations are being developed also, and efforts to counter them are increasing in parallel. It is a whole huge topic that could be discussed in our long video, so I would not delve into it. And where would we be without some truly specialized means of defense? For example, the Russian Orthodox vehicle Bukhanka with the welded church on the roof. And it is interesting how it moves without falling apart, isn't it? And that wraps up today's video. If you found this information helpful or somehow insightful, don't forget to like, share and subscribe. And I hope to see you in the next video. Bye bye!